Imagine waking up one morning and stepping outside, only to find that the entire world is empty. There are no people, no cars moving, no sounds of life anywhere. A strange disease has spread across the world, killing anyone who falls asleep. Now only a few people have survived, those who haven't slept yet. With the world completely abandoned, these last survivors can go anywhere and do anything. But how did this all begin? And can they stay awake forever to avoid the same fate? The story starts with Jake, a man struggling with drug addiction. He wakes up feeling groggy after a night of drinking and immediately starts searching for his lighter. When he can't find it, he decides to ask his neighbor for one. But when he knocks on their door, there's no answer. He tries again, still nothing. Confused, he steps outside, expecting to see people on the street. Instead, the city is eerily silent. As he walks around, an unsettling feeling grows inside him. Shops are open, but no one is inside. Cars are parked on the roads, but there are no drivers. Then, in a nearby park, he sees something terrifying. Two lifeless bodies lying on the ground. His heart pounds as he pulls out his phone to call the police, but no one answers. He tries dialing emergency services, but the line is dead. Jake panics and rushes to his family's house, desperate to check on his parents and younger sister. As he steps inside, his worst fears come true. His entire family is lying lifeless in their beds, just like the others. His hands tremble as he tries to shake them awake. But deep down, he knows the truth. They're gone. Fear grips him. What is happening? Why is everyone dead except him? He slaps his face, pinches his arm, trying to wake himself up, hoping this is just some drug-induced nightmare. But it's not. It's real. As Jake stumbles back outside in shock, he hears footsteps. A young boy appears from the street, looking just as confused and scared as Jake. The boy, who introduces himself as Sam, tells Jake that he has been wandering the city and that he hasn't seen a single living person, except Jake. Sam then explains what he has figured out so far. Over the last 2 days, anyone who fell asleep never woke up. Whatever this mysterious disease is, it only kills when a person sleeps. The only way to survive is to stay awake. Jake suddenly remembers something: his drug use. For the last few days, he had been high, barely able to sleep at all. That's why he was still alive. It wasn't luck. It was his sleeplessness. Now realizing they have no other choice, Jake and Sam decide to stick together. They find a stash of adrenaline injections and use them to keep each other awake. As they explore the empty city, they soon come across 2 more survivors, 2 girls who also manage to stay awake. With the entire city now theirs, they can do whatever they want. There are no rules, no limits, except one: they must not fall asleep. The 4 survivors tried to enjoy their new freedom, but they knew one thing: they couldn't stay awake forever. As time passed, exhaustion started taking its toll. One of the girls began experiencing hallucinations. To fight off sleep, Jake kept talking to Sam constantly, keeping him engaged in conversation. They all agreed that if they were going to die from lack of sleep, they might as well enjoy themselves as much as possible before that happened. Then another girl named Kate rushed in, panicked. She told them that her partner had fallen asleep from exhaustion and never woke up. Desperate, Jake tried using an adrenaline injection to revive her, but it was too late. She was gone. Frustrated and scared, Kate grew angry. She pointed out that drinking coffee and tea no longer helped them stay awake, and soon even adrenaline shots wouldn't work. Worse, their supply of injections was running low. Without them, they would all fall asleep and die. As Jake and Sam tried to figure out a plan, they suddenly heard the sound of a car engine. They ran outside to see Kate speeding away. She was stealing all of their remaining injections. Panic set in. Without those, they were doomed. Jake and Sam jumped into their car and sped after her. But Jake, exhausted after so many sleepless days, started losing consciousness behind the wheel. Realizing they were about to crash, Sam quickly grabbed the steering wheel and took control. Sam knew he had to keep Jake awake. Thinking fast, he grabbed a screwdriver from the car and stabbed Jake in the leg. The sharp pain jolted Jake back to life, saving him from drifting off. They continued chasing Kate until they suddenly spotted something unexpected: a plane parked in the middle of the road. Both cars screeched to a stop. As they got out, a man named Ellis stepped down from the plane. Ellis explained that the plane was his, but he had to make an emergency landing because he ran out of fuel. Seeing their desperation, he made them an offer. He had more adrenaline injections, but in exchange, they had to take him to the city hospital in their car. He needed to get there to complete his research. As they headed to the hospital, Ellis took the wheel since he was in a better condition than both Jake and Sam. After receiving their injections, Jake and Sam felt more awake again. When they arrived at the hospital, they were surprised to see that some people were still alive. A doctor named Allie explained that she was keeping them awake using hospital medicines. Meanwhile, Ellis immediately got to work, checking the exact time of death for all the deceased patients. That was the reason he had come to the hospital. Ellis then introduced himself properly. He was a scientist who had been researching the origin of this mysterious disease for the past several days. He had been traveling in his private plane, visiting hospitals in different cities to gather data. So far, he had visited 8 cities disease, and he had discovered a strange pattern. Each time the disease spread to a new city, the deaths occurred exactly 1 minute later than in the previous city. This meant that if they continued in that direction, they might be able to trace the origin of the outbreak, and if they could find the origin, they might also find a cure. However, to do that, they would need to visit more cities. Dr. Alley, realizing that their time was running out, agreed to join Ellis on this mission. After all, they couldn't stay awake forever, so finding a cure was their only hope. Sam also insisted on going with them. However, Jake was hesitant. He preferred to stay in the hospital for now since it had plenty of medicine to keep him awake. At this point, the story flashes back to the hospital a few days earlier. Dr. Alley was on her night shift when suddenly all the sleeping patients started dying one by one. The head doctor, in shock, told her to contact other hospitals to see if the same thing was happening elsewhere. But before she could do anything, she noticed that the head doctor had already fled the hospital, speeding away in his car, leaving Alley alone to deal with the crisis. Dr. Ellis, Jake, Sam, Dr. Alley, and a girl named Sarah set off for the next town in the hospital's fastest vehicle. On the way, Sarah picked up some chili peppers, planning to use them to stay awake by shocking her senses. When they arrived at the next town's hospital, they were met with a grim sight. The entire building had been burned down. Any records that could have helped them were now gone. This was a huge setback, as they didn't think they could stay awake long enough to make it to another town without some kind of information. Jake suggested a new plan. Instead of searching the hospital, they should check the town's morgue, where the bodies of the dead would have been stored. There, they might still find records of the people who died and their exact time of death. The group agreed and quickly made their way to the morgue. To their surprise, when they arrived, they found a group of survivors partying with loud music to keep themselves awake. Ellis didn't waste any time and rushed inside to find the records, while Sarah decided she wanted to enjoy the moment. She told the others she wanted to dance for a while. After all, who knew if they'd ever get a chance like this again? Dr. Alley tried to stop her, but when she refused, Jake decided to stay and keep an eye on her. Soon, both of them got caught up in the energy of the party, drinking energy drinks and trying to forget their situation for a while. Meanwhile, inside the morgue, Ellis, Sam, and Dr. Alley searched through the written records, but there was a problem. The exact time of death wasn't recorded. However, they did find a locked laptop. If they could unlock it, they might access digital records with the critical information they needed. Back at the party, Jake started feeling the effects of extreme exhaustion. He began hallucinating and saw his younger sister. He was overwhelmed with regret, remembering how he never respected his family and was always lost in his addiction. Meanwhile, Ellis had finally completed his research and pinpointed the exact location where he believed the disease had started. According to his calculations, the origin of the outbreak was 2 hours away from their current town. If they wanted to understand what had happened, they needed to go there. At the same time, Sam managed to find Jake and snap him out of his hallucination. But as Jake regained awareness, he realized that in his dazed state, he had wandered away from Sarah. Worried, he and Sam rushed back to find her, but they were too late. Despite the loud music at the party, Sarah had fallen asleep, and just like everyone else, she never woke up. Dr. Alley was devastated. Sarah had been very close to her, and she had trusted Jake to look after her. Overcome with anger, she blamed Jake for being careless and refused to let him come with them anymore. However, Sam wasn't willing to leave Jake behind. Jake had helped him from the beginning, and he wasn't about to abandon him now. After much insistence, Dr. Alley finally gave in and agreed to let Jake stay with the group. Just as they were about to leave in their car, Dr. Alley suddenly received a message from an old friend, Lex. He claimed to have already found a cure for the disease. He told Alley that anyone who wanted the antidote should come meet him in the nearby town. Alley was thrilled by the news, but Ellis was skeptical. He couldn't understand how anyone could have developed an antidote without proper research. To him, it didn't make sense, and he didn't want to change course. After some discussion, they decided to split up. Ellis would continue toward the origin of the disease, while Alley would go meet Lex. Ellis gave her a car and a radio so they could stay in touch, and from that moment, they went their separate ways. Now, Jake and Sam decided to go with Dr. Alley to meet her friend, while Ellis continued his journey toward the place where he believed the disease had started. It had now been 4 days since the outbreak began. Staying awake for so long was taking a serious toll on people. Some survivors had become dangerously unstable, even violent. Their exhaustion had pushed them to a breaking point, and some believed that in order to stay awake, they had to keep killing others. As Jake, Sam, and Dr. Alley drove toward Lex's location, they tried to keep themselves entertained by playing games to avoid feeling sleepy. Everything seemed fine, until suddenly, a man fell from a bridge above and landed on their car. The sudden impact caused Jake to lose control, and the car crashed into a tree. The accident left them injured. Dr. Alley was badly hurt and started losing consciousness. Sam quickly grabbed a drink and splashed it on her face, desperately trying to keep her awake. As he turned to get more water from the car, his eyes caught something disturbing. a shadowy figure standing on the bridge above. Someone had pushed that man onto their car on purpose. Sam wanted to investigate, but saving Dr. Allie was more important. He focused on reviving her, pouring water over her face until she finally regained consciousness. But she was in bad shape from the crash. To make things worse, their car was completely wrecked. They had no choice but to find another vehicle if they wanted to reach the address where Dr. Allie's friend was waiting. Meanwhile, scientist Ellis, who was driving alone toward his destination, began feeling extremely sleepy. His exhaustion made it difficult to focus, and he narrowly avoided crashing multiple times. Realizing the danger, he pulled over and stopped the car. To keep himself awake, he started listening to old recordings of his family. Hearing their voices gave him the motivation he needed to push forward and solve the mystery behind the disease. On the other side, Jake, Sam, and Dr. Allie were struggling badly after walking for miles under the scorching sun. Dehydrated and exhausted, they felt like they couldn't go any further. Just when things seemed hopeless, they heard loud music coming from a small town ahead. This gave them a glimmer of hope. Maybe someone was still alive and could help them. Jake decided to check it out first and left Sam to take care of Dr. Allie. As he moved through the town, he noticed skulls hanging along the paths and people wearing strange makeup. It was eerie, but before he could figure out what was happening, Dr. Allie suddenly collapsed behind him. Before she could lose consciousness completely, she saw several of the makeup-wearing men lifting her up and carrying her away. After some time, Allie woke up to find a woman feeding her some kind of nutritious meal. The food gave her strength, and she quickly regained full awareness. Jake and Sam were relieved to see her recovering. The people in the town then explained that many survivors lived here, and they all wore the costumes and makeup. Julio also revealed the secret to how they had stayed awake for so long: the special nutrition that Allie had just eaten. It was a homeopathic energy supplement that kept their bodies active and prevented them from falling asleep. As they settled in, Julio gave Sam a tour of the camp and introduced him to a girl his age named Carmen. For the first time in a long while, Sam felt normal again. Unlike the destruction outside, this place felt alive, filled with laughter and music. As Sam and Carmen walked through the camp, a man suddenly appeared and attacked her. He was another survivor, but he had lost his mind from extreme exhaustion and turned violent. Sam screamed for help, and Julio quickly arrived with his men. Dr. Allie rushed to Carmen's side and immediately began treating her injuries, while the rest of the survivors worked together to stop the attacker. Dr. Allie was extremely worried. She needed to operate on Carmen to save her life, but there was a major problem. Surgery required anesthesia, and if Carmen was put to sleep, she would die like everyone else. Leader Julio tried to calm her down, telling her that she had no choice but to operate without anesthesia. It would be painful, but it was the only way to save Carmen. Sam immediately stepped up to help, while Jake, unable to watch the surgery, stepped outside, making an excuse that he would guard the camp's entrance. Inside, Dr. Allie began the operation with Sam assisting her. Everything was going fine until suddenly the lights went out. Julio, sensing something was wrong, told Allie and Sam to stay put while he went outside to fix the power. As soon as Julio stepped out, gunshots echoed through the camp. That meant the power outage wasn't an accident. The camp was under attack. A group of violent survivors, who had gone insane from exhaustion, were raiding the camp, killing others in order to stay awake. Dr. Allie quickly picked up Carmen and carried her into a safer room, deciding to finish the operation by candlelight. Carmen's condition was getting worse by the second, so Allie and Sam kept talking to her, making sure she stayed awake. Just then, one of the attackers stormed inside, ready to kill them. Allie and Sam braced for the worst, until suddenly Jake appeared from behind and struck the man on the head, killing him just in time. By the time Leader Julio returned, Jake had already handled the situation and protected Allie and Sam. With the threat gone, Dr. Allie completed the operation successfully, saving Carmen's life. Julio was deeply grateful for their help. As a reward, he gave them a car so they could continue their journey. He also provided them with a large supply of the special nutrition, ensuring that Jake, Allie, and Sam could stay awake for as long as possible. Before leaving, Dr. Allie made a promise to Julio. If her friend truly had an antidote, she would return and share the cure with everyone in the camp. Inside, Sam said goodbye to Carmen, assuring her that they would meet again once everything was back to normal. With that, Jake, Allie, and Sam left for the location of Allie's friend, hoping to find the cure. Meanwhile, Ellis had finally reached the town he believed to be the origin of the disease. He immediately noticed something promising. The town still had lights on. This meant his theory was right. Something important was here. At the same time, a man named Bill was also out exploring. He and his girlfriend Nicole had managed to stay awake for days. Instead of living in fear, the two had decided to enjoy their time in the empty world, traveling from city to city, making the most of their strange reality. On this particular day, Bill and Nicole were heading toward the same town where Ellis had gone. They wanted to explore the place and experience another adventure before they eventually lost their battle against sleep. As soon as they entered the city and stopped to refuel their car, they saw something terrifying. Another man stepped out of a car, only to be shot in the head. Panic set in. Nicole and Bill quickly ducked behind their car as more gunshots rang out. There was a hidden sniper somewhere in the city, taking down anyone who tried to enter. They had no idea where to hide or where the sniper was. But then, they noticed a flashlight flickering in the distance, signaling them to come. With no other choice, they ran toward the light together. The man holding the flashlight turned out to be Ellis. He had arrived in town earlier and had been hiding for hours with other survivors, unable to move because of the sniper. Ellis explained the situation. Since he arrived, the sniper had been shooting anyone on the road, making it impossible for them to enter the town safely. Until they located and eliminated the shooter, no one could go any further. Curious, Ellis asked Bill and Nicole why they had come to this town. Nicole replied that she and Bill wanted to visit as many cities as possible before they died. They weren't looking for a cure. They just wanted to say goodbye to the world with good memories. But Ellis shook his head. They were wasting time. He told them that he and the other survivors were heading toward the center of the city where, according to his research, the disease had started. If they could reach that location, they might find the cure and bring everything back to normal. Ellis and the others were stuck. The sniper had them pinned down, making it impossible to leave their hiding spot. But if they stayed there too long, exhaustion would eventually take over, and they would die in their sleep. They had to act fast. Ellis started coming up with a plan to catch the sniper, knowing it was their only way forward. Meanwhile, Dr. Allie, Jake, and Sam finally arrived in the town where Allie's friend Lex had told them to come, claiming she had found a cure for the disease. However, something felt strange. The streets were full of armed guards who were rounding up survivors at gunpoint and taking them somewhere. Seeing this, Jake became suspicious. He told Allie that her friend might have lied to lure them here and that there was no real cure. He believed these gunmen were up to something terrible and they should turn back before it was too late. But Dr. Allie refused to leave without confirmation. She had faith in her friend Lex and was determined to see her before making any decisions. Despite Jake's warnings, they decided to approach the armed guards themselves. To avoid being seen as a threat, they removed any weapons and approached carefully, hoping to be taken directly to Lex. Meanwhile, Ellis's plan worked. He and his team distracted the sniper, giving Ellis a chance to sneak behind and capture them. But to his surprise, the sniper was a young girl named Meredith. Meredith quickly explained herself. She wasn't killing random people. She had only been targeting those who had turned violent due to extreme sleep deprivation. She was protecting innocent survivors from being attacked. She even pointed out that she had purposely not shot Bill and Nicole, even though they were in her sights. Hearing this, the others realized she wasn't their enemy. Ellis, seeing her skills, decided to include her in their team. They would need a good sniper for the challenges ahead. Now together, they would head toward the city's center, hoping to find the antidote for the disease. Back in the other town, Jake, Dr. Allie, and Sam approached the guards without weapons to avoid getting shot. The guards took them to a hospital, where Dr. Allie finally found her friend Lex. Relieved but also angry, Allie questioned Lex. Why hadn't she come to find her during all this chaos? Meanwhile, Jake and Sam quickly realized something surprising. Lex wasn't just Allie's friend, but her romantic partner. The two women had been in a relationship, something that was perfectly normal in today's world, though Jake and Sam hadn't known until now. As Ellis and the group got to know each other, a woman named Nina shared her story. On the night the disaster struck, she received a mysterious message warning her not to sleep. The next morning, she realized that everyone who had slept had died, meaning someone had saved her. She traced the message's origin to this town, which is why she had come, to find out who warned her and why. This revelation proved that the disease wasn't natural. It was deliberately spread and someone had known about it in advance. Bill, a skilled tracker, analyzed phone records and discovered that the message was sent from a nursing home in the center of town. The group rushed there, but inside they only found dead bodies. There were no survivors. Meredith spotted a CCTV camera and they checked the footage. The video showed that even the nursing home staff had no idea what was happening, and the patients simply died in their sleep like everyone else. Then Bill had a realization. The message wasn't sent directly from the nursing home. The phone lines ran through a nearby TV broadcasting center, meaning someone had hijacked the signal from there. That broadcasting center now held the key to the mystery. However, Bill and Nicole decided not to go with the group. They revealed that they had a terminal illness. Even if a cure was found, they were going to die anyway. Instead of chasing answers, they planned to spend their final night exploring the city together, and then they would allow themselves to sleep, choosing a peaceful end. With that, the group said their goodbyes. While Bill and Nicole went to enjoy their last moments, the rest of the team prepared for their final destination, the TV broadcasting center, where the truth behind the deadly disease awaited them. Meanwhile, at the hospital in the other town, Lex revealed a temporary solution to Jake, Sam, and Dr. Allie. After experimenting on hundreds of people, they had developed a substance that allowed a person to sleep for 1 hour without dying. Though not a permanent cure, this medicine could prevent deep sleep, giving the body some rest and helping people survive longer. To prove its effectiveness, Lex prepared to inject Sam. Jake hesitated, fearing it might kill him, but Lex assured them it had been tested multiple times. Sam, having stayed awake for days, needed rest, so Lex administered the injection. What happens next? Will Lex's medicine work? And what hidden secrets surround its creation that even Dr. Allie and Jake don't know yet? Meanwhile, Ellis and his team finally located the source of the disaster, the TV broadcasting tower, where the deadly signal had originated. Now they were about to uncover the truth. Who was behind the outbreak and why they did it? All secrets will be revealed in the second and final part of this thrilling series. Stay tuned for the next episode.